Welcome to the Deploying Cellular iPads to Your Students webinar. My name is Larry Stiegel. I'm an education sales engineer here at Jamf, based in Austin, Texas. I wanted to be the first to welcome you to our webinar today. I'm joined by Nate Hale, who's also an education sales engineer. Nate is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We both have the honor of serving K-12 customers all over the United States, from smaller schools with a few hundred devices to well-known districts. We work to break down technical barriers and answer questions. We also quietly work in the background testing new features, shipping across Jamf's portfolio of products, and writing supporting documentation when the need arises. This is our agenda. We will be covering the topics shown here. To lay the foundation of today's webinar, we wanted to begin by reading this statement found in ABI research. It is also a market that is quickly evolving, not just in terms of creating an ecosystem change, but also in terms of form factor. The true value of the eSIM relies in its remote provisioning capabilities, which in turn can offer new levels of flexibility, simplicity, and convenience. ABI research, the true value proposition of the eSIM.
So let's take a quick peek at an overview of who Jamf is for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. At our core, our mission statement at Jamf is clear. Jamf helps organizations succeed with Apple. Jamf offers a variety of enterprise-grade solutions ready to help you tackle authentication, device management, and endpoint protection challenges in the Apple ecosystem. With today's webinar focused on Jamf Pro in the middle and Jamf School on the right, and also underpinning all of this is Jamf Nation, the world's largest community of Apple administrators with more than 100,000 of your fellow admins on the site ready to help you connect, learn, and grow. New to Jamf Nation is our education community where IT admins can explore topics specifically pertaining to education, including both Jamf Pro and Jamf School, and even our education apps available in the App Store. Jamf offers the most comprehensive portfolio of Apple management products in the market. Jamf School helps schools, IT, and educators spend less time managing technology and more time investing in their classrooms, while Jamf Pro is the gold standard in Apple management for large-scale school districts. Jamf helps more than 40,000 organizations manage 18 million plus Apple devices and counting. When education organizations need a world leader in Apple management, they turn to Jamf. The world's largest K-12 primary and secondary schools and the best universities around the globe choose Jamf for Apple management. Since 2012, Jamf has consistently delivered same-day support for new Apple operating system releases. This year, Jamf supported iOS 14, iPadOS 14, and tvOS 14 on release day. We also announced same-day support for macOS Big Sur. Same-day support is a major differentiator for Jamf and one of the best ways we serve our customers as new versions of operating systems are becoming available. Many admins enjoy same-day support because it enables them to make the latest operating systems available to their end users immediately, or it allows them to begin testing new OSs to ensure consistent performance across their environment. So with that, I'll pass things over to Larry to begin diving into our eSIM pieces.
What is the digital divide? In simplest terms, it's the gulf between those who have ready access to computers and the internet and those who do not. How have we addressed this issue? Well, we've established labs and provided resources in schools, even one-to-one learning environments. Access to resources was the answer. So now, who are these digital natives? These are the people who were born or brought up during the age of digital technology and therefore are familiar with computers and the internet from a very early age. These are children who look at smartphones and tablets as necessities and not luxuries. How many of us today still have a traditional landline? How many of us only have cell phones? These natives look at digital resources as tools to accomplish tasks. In the 1970s and the 1980s, courses in computer literacy were common in schools. Today, students already possess these skills. We see classes in app development, digital media, and numerous other topics being offered today. You may hear this term called digital desert. What is the digital desert? Connected Nation 2019 refers to areas where families, businesses, libraries, schools, and whole communities that do not have access to high-speed broadband internet as digital deserts. A study entitled Look at Broadband Access, Providers and Technology examined and analyzed broadband coverage data released by the Federal Communications Commission. What researchers from Purdue University and Oklahoma State University found is concerning. In 2017, Norman, Oklahoma's largest ward incorporates about half the city's geography, but when it comes to internet and cell phone service, it is a world apart from the rest of the city. I can sum it up in one word: poor. Ward 5 resident and Norman Mayor Lynn Miller said, "Poor to awful. I can't even get my cell phone to work in my house half the time." Crossing East 48th Street is like falling off a cliff, digitally speaking, with internet speeds plummeting to as low as 1 megabit per second in some areas. I get about 50 megabits per second in town. My parents live out here and they only get about 1 megabit per second, one resident shared. You can't do anything with that. I mean, YouTube videos buffer, that's about it. It's pretty ridiculous. In a remote learning world, we have to be aware of these areas and plan on how we are going to address them. Hotspots have become very attractive in education. Multiple users can share a single hotspot in the same home. But is this really the best use of the cellular data resource? Imagine a family of 4 learners sharing a single hotspot. One student researching botany, another child submitting homework, the third student chatting with their instructor, and a fourth child in a Zoom room learning American history. 4 users sharing a single connection. Might it get a little crowded on that connection? Consider the carpool. It may be a less expensive way to transport children. If all are going to the same connection and location, then the traffic flows smoothly and efficiently. But what happens if one child needs to go to piano lessons? Another is going to a scout meeting. The third's going to visit a friend, and the fourth child has to go to the store to buy art supplies for a project. The movement will be slow and dependent on all people. Lots of congestion. How can we ensure we're providing the best learning environment for our children and at the same time be agile and able to adjust to their needs? How can we ensure that each child gets the full advantage? What is a SIM anyway? Well, basically, a SIM is a subscriber identity module, and it identifies the user or subscriber to the network. And there are 2 basic SIMs. The first is a physical SIM, a plastic card with a metal strip which contains information. Physical SIMs are inserted into a device so that it can connect to a cellular data network. SIMs are carrier specific and can be easily changed. To change a carrier, however, requires the physical exchange of that module. eSIMs, or embedded subscriber identity modules, most of the time are a chip on the logic board of the device, which is configurable based on the needs of the end user. eSIMs usually are not carrier specific and can be easily changed without any physical intervention. The key to remember is that an eSIM can be programmed and does not need to be physically removed or changed.
So starting this process off, it will require 2 critical pieces of information shown here: the IMEI and the EID. Do these look familiar? You may have seen both of these present on iPads when unboxing them for the first time, or even at a retail store when purchasing something like an iPhone. Most data carriers will require 2 critical pieces of information: the IMEI number, which is the International Mobile Equipment Identity. It's a unique number to a device which will use the cellular data network. The IMEI will contain at least 15 digits in this case. The EID number, or the embedded identity document, is a number attached to a device which uses eSIMs. If we're looking at our iPad settings under General, we can find both pieces. Our left device is the device in a pre-activation state, and on the right is a device in a post-activation state. Now I'll zoom in a little closer on both, and we'll notice during pre-activation, the carrier is iPad. You can also see the IMEI number and the EID numbers here. Then post-activation, we'll see the carrier updated to your carrier provided. In addition, you'll see your carrier data number. Also, there's a new number to pay attention to. That's the ICC ID number. And I'll pass things over to Larry to describe some of our eSIM workflows.
So what does an eSIM activation workflow look like? Well, first, let's take a moment and go through the entire process. This diagram illustrates the process a school district might go through when purchasing cellular iPads from Apple. So the school district contacts Apple and has made a determination that they're going to go with cellular iPads. So they make the purchase of devices and possibly even services. After that's completed, the Apple sales team should provide to the school district a listing of all of their devices with the IMEI and EID numbers. Then Apple will submit that purchase information into Apple School Manager. Next, the school district can identify who their cellular data network provider is. And at this point, they can submit that information, those EID and IMEI numbers, for eSIM profile generation. Make sure when communicating with your cellular data provider, what is the window at which your eSIM profiles must be downloaded? And also verify with your network provider when those charges begin to take effect. Next, devices will be delivered to the school district. Now, how do devices get activated and enrolled into Jamf? Well, the user will attach to a network either by Wi-Fi or tethering. Once that's established, the device will go through the activation process and contact Apple, at which point the devices will then check with Apple School Manager and determine what mobile device management resource will be utilized for enrollment. The devices will then be enrolled in your MDM, in this case, Jamf. Then the MDM will send automated commands and app deployment, including cellular data activation, to the device. Now the device can activate itself and start going and participating with the cellular data network. The device will then request the eSIM profile from the carrier. The carrier will then in turn provide the eSIM profile back to the device. Now the device can travel on the cellular data network. The last part is the device will then submit its inventory to the Jamf server. So that way, the Jamf administrator can verify that all devices have active cellular data network profiles. Apple gives you the ability to retain cellular data plans in the event you need to erase your iPad. Why would you do this? If you erase the data plan, you will need to go back to your respective carrier and have them reissue a new eSIM profile. This process can take time, and your device will not be able to utilize the cellular data network until it receives the new eSIM profile. Here, our first example is completing the task on the device itself. While it's not scalable for large deployments, it is possible. Jamf Pro gives us the ability to remotely wipe a device and still retain the cellular data plan. This action can be targeted on a single device or performed as a mass action on a group of devices. Just like Jamf Pro, Jamf School also has the ability to remotely wipe devices and preserve data plans. This action can be targeted to a single device or performed as a mass action on a group of devices. All of these options make it easier to perform device changeovers after the school year is up. Now that we've highlighted some of the capabilities with our two products, let's pass things over to Eric, who will tell us from the field what it was like to work with one of our California-based customers deploying eSIM devices before our in-product changes and life after some of these updates have occurred.
I also have the privilege to work as an education sales engineer based in Saratoga Springs, New York. We were approached in early September by a large school district looking to rapidly deploy 1,200 LTE-enabled iPad devices. They worked through a funding opportunity with the California Department of Education to quickly secure these devices, and based on their shift to remote learning, had an immediate need to deploy these devices in Jamf School. Their desired turnaround time from accepting delivery to devices in the hands of their students was around 2 weeks. In order to accomplish this, the school employed an Apple Configurator 2 workflow to enroll the devices in Jamf School. This allowed them to work in larger batches of devices and also leverage a wired Ethernet connection along with app caching services. Using the power of placeholders within Jamf School, these devices were automatically placed in a static device group, which triggered their base configuration profile and foundation apps to be automatically installed. From there, we leveraged a smart group to catch any app install failures. Devices that landed in this group were pulled aside for remediation. The school worked in batches of around 120 devices, and once those devices appeared in the proper group, we were able to send a mass MDM command to instantly activate LTE service across those devices. School technicians would verify cellular connectivity on the device, and as their final step, push the district's Wi-Fi profile using Jamf School, and then tag as complete. All said and done, they were able to deploy 1,200 devices in 7 working days, in large part to great coordination and communication across everyone involved, including Apple and their carrier, as well as being able to efficiently enroll and configure the devices in Jamf School. We're really excited to see more of these success stories, especially with a powerful new workflow addition for Jamf School that Nate will talk about a bit later.
I think it's important for us to talk about the capabilities of both Jamf Pro and Jamf School to help with facilitating and or limiting which data students should be utilizing on their devices. Both solutions can help IT admins configure broad or granular settings to apply via configuration profiles. These settings are enforced with MDM, they're non-removable, and they can apply within a matter of moments after configuring and then deploying to the targets in which you define. So why do you need this? Well, data caps. We don't want students using all of their data available for non-school activities and then having reduced performance when they need it the most. Think of maybe a large-scale class project needing the YouTube app for 1 week. You could deploy a specific profile if desired and modify when needed after it's completed, as an example. In Jamf Pro, you can see here, I can allow cellular data for specific managed apps that have synced over from Apple School Manager, as indicated by the checkboxes I've chosen. As your app collection grows within your school or school district, so will this list. Maybe you have a collection of students who are using a majority of data for Netflix or Hulu or any type of streaming service. We could simply disallow cellular data for those student apps. So the same applies to customers looking to use Jamf School to apply this configuration profile. So here I've allowed cellular data for all of the Google apps in my district, and I've deselected the option for Netflix to use data. All of these settings are available to be changed on the fly and are customizable to your choosing. A new major feature unique to Jamf School is this ability to actually stage devices with an eSIM cellular plan, all within the DEP profile or the device enrollment profile. This process is as simple as selecting the checkbox to configure eSIM and then provide a unique URL for your supported carrier. Activation occurs with Jamf School silently during the setup assistant without notifying your users. If your district has a single carrier to use during enrollment, you can add this to your DEP profile, or you could even define multiple carriers for groups of devices if desired, providing the ultimate flexibility no matter which carrier is chosen.
Switching carriers. So what does it mean to switch a carrier? Why do we do this? Aren't all carriers created equal? Have you ever heard someone say, "My cell reception is terrible downtown. They need to fix it." But then their traveling companion might say, "My phone is fine. You must have bad service." This is actually not inaccurate. Not all cell carriers provide the same coverage in all locations. One carrier may provide 50 megabit download speeds, and another carrier may only achieve 2 megabit, even on the same device in the same location. Why is this done? Well, contract term. Your contract is up and another carrier may provide better terms, whether it be coverage or cost. You have parts of your community where one cellular carrier service is superior to another. You may have needs for large data usage and no penalties or throttling. So how do we accomplish this task? Well, your technical support team must contact and communicate with carriers to determine your needs and which carrier best provides your level of desired service, realizing that there may even be a situation where multiple carriers are utilized. The team will provide the needed information to the carrier, including EID and IMEI numbers. Once the carrier has provisioned the profile and it's ready for download, the Jamf server can send a command to instruct each device to go out and retrieve the new profile. Once the new profile is downloaded, the eSIM will make it the default profile and switch to your new service. So how are users impacted? Well, simply put, the user is going to get better service, either better rate, higher performance, hopefully both. This approach requires no action by the end user. And if all goes well, the user will just simply be able to utilize these tools for success at their fullest capacity. Now, of course, there are times where you may see errors occur during activation, and here are some of the more common notifications in iPad. Now, realize not all notifications will be available in all versions of iPad OS.
So we've covered a lot of information in today's webinar, but we know that there may be some additional questions involved with what was shown here, from how-to workflows, from conceptual discussions to more technical components. So rest assured, we have some additional resources that are going to be provided to you and that are available today. We do have 2 different guides available for Jamf Pro and Jamf School, describing much of what was shown here today from our webinar. So you can follow the guide specific to your school's deployment to take advantage of these workflows. You can find these guides for Jamf School and Jamf Pro on jamf.com in the resources section of this webinar, or by reaching out to us with questions. And speaking of reaching out, if you'd like to request a trial of Jamf Pro or Jamf School, we'd love to hear from you. If you're still unsure which path you should take, a Jamf representative can help guide you down the right path. You can start by signing up for a trial for Jamf Pro by scanning the QR code on the left side, or you can sign up for Jamf School by scanning the QR code on the right side. These both lead you to our website, where we need a few pieces of information to get you started. If you still have further questions, you can reach out to us by sending a message over to info@jamf.com. We wanted to thank you for joining our webinar today.